Bill Maher is here. He is perhaps best known as a host of the ABC television show Politically Incorrect. That position earned him a reputation for a sarcastic, sometimes controversial take on the news of the day, also satirical and funny. After 9 years on the air, Politically Incorrect was canceled last spring. His new book is called When You Ride Alone, You Ride with Bin Laden. I am pleased to have him back at this table. So welcome back.
A true round table.
A true round table, exactly right. You said to me, you know, you enjoyed doing round table, and I said, like this kind of round table?
I would never take your actual table,
I know,
Charlie. You own this.
Thank you. Thank you. Tell me about the book. When you ride alone, you ride with bin Laden, what the government should be telling us to help fight the war.
You are
the
first one to pronounce that correctly. Should. You hit the word should, and that is the key word.
Yeah.
The government, in my view, is not telling us what they should be telling us. And now that picture there and with the color scheme, everything comes right from a 1943 World War II poster.
So basically what we have here is a bunch of posters.
Posters with the essays that I wrote with them. But
there's one, Wake Up America.
Yeah, that's an original.
Civilization calls every man, every woman, and every child.
Right, that's from World War I.
Yeah.
Wake Up America. And then my version there is, Attack on the Pentagon, What Has to Happen?
Yeah.
But the title one, there was one in World War II called When You Ride Alone, You Ride with Hitler. And same thing, and a ghost outline of Hitler, and at the bottom it said, there it is, and join a car-sharing club today. They were trying to get people to make the connection between oil and their use of it and a weapon of war that oil is, and gosh, that is so relevant to today, when obviously oil is what funds the terrorists, and it's our main Achilles heel. But the government doesn't tell you about that, do they? I'll leave you to decide why.
No, but there's much to, I've seen 1,000 newspaper stories about the role of oil in the war and the role of oil in financing terrorists and the United States relationship to Saudi Arabia.
Right.
So I would assume that the assumption is the public knows.
Well, I don't think the public probably reads as many newspapers as you do.
Well, yes.
And I think it is the government's job to make that connection for us. In
other words, to say, as you would say, because known for your candor, just listen. What's at stake here is oil, and if we want to lessen our dependence on oil, what we ought to do is drive more fuel-efficient cars.
Exactly. We wouldn't have to make wholesale changes. I happen to drive the hybrid that gets 55 miles per gallon. But if we just all got 3 more miles per gallon in our cars, we wouldn't need Mideast oil anymore.
Why do you like a Prius or some?
Well, because
fuel efficient. But why is it more fuel efficient? What does it do? What's the mechanics of it?
Because it's electric. It's hybrid. In other words,
but not a battery. Is it a battery?
It has a battery, yes. But it's both gas and electric. That's the thing. So you don't have to plug it in. Yeah. You're not Ed Begley. Remember, he was the first one. Now I used to kid him. I said Ed was supposed to be here today, but it was cloudy. Couldn't get his car started. No, but this is just like any other car. Trust me, I'm the most unmechanical person in the world. I cannot figure anything out. If I can drive this car, all I do is turn the key and it goes. And it's funny because it starts on a gas, sounds like a regular car. You get to the first light, and you think the car is stalled because it is dead silent, because it's kicked over to the electric, and now it's running on electricity. So that's why it gets such great mileage. But I think it's a great solution to people who do not want to be inconvenienced, and Lord knows that's us.
Yes, you have a great line of talking about sacrifice.
Yeah.
What was the line about sacrifices?
Oh, I have so
They would give up their first child before they would give up their SUV.
Right, we'd rather sacrifice virgins.
Oh, that's right.
than SUVs. Somewhere along the line, I don't know how it happened exactly, but we sort of associated sacrifice with somehow losing our freedom. Yeah. If someone was telling us you should, Jimmy Carter, remember, put on a sweater or drive a smaller car, and you got what do you mean tell? I'm an American. You're not going to tell me what to drive or what to put on, and that is so not the spirit. When you look at those World War II posters,
which is what we're going to do now. Take a look at this one. You can be a hero in America. Explain this one to me.
Okay, that's I left the Arabic untranslated because I figured people could make the leap from that famous picture of Uncle Sam sticking his finger in your chest. So it says Uncle Sam wants you in Arabic, and the essay there is just about the fact that I think there's a tremendous opportunity for Muslim Americans to be so heroic now, just like the Japanese Americans were in World War II. And I'm pretty blunt about it in there. I say, to be perfectly honest, the Japanese Americans in World War II got it far worse and gave far more. You know, I mean, we're not throwing Muslim Americans in internment camps.
Right.
We're not beating them with rubber hoses and so forth.
Although there have been random acts of violence out of stupidity by...
But that's not government policy. You cannot control
right,
stupid
right,
people occasionally doing it, yes. And half the time, of course, if someone's stupid enough to do that, they usually don't know who's a Muslim and who isn't. Anyone darker in the skin chart than George Hamilton is, you know, close enough. You know, the 2 days after 9/11, they shot a Sikh. Well, the Sikhs from India, not Muslims, but turban, close enough, my friend.
If you're not one of us, you're one of them.
Yeah, that's right. You don't look like you come from my town. Bam.
All right, next slide. This is the one we can do without it.
Okay, now there's a knockoff of an original World War II one. That's a famous one. You see that all the time. We Can Do It is the original one, and the girl is rolling up her sleeve, and there she's refusing a diamond. She's giving the kind of bafangul to the diamond. Yes. And that's just an essay about the fact that people, I think, are unaware about the oil. They are also unaware, I think, that diamonds are one of the things that terrorists use to fund their operations because they can't be traced. They launder their money through diamonds. It's one of the few things they do launder. And I
didn't know that.
And even before the terrorism stuff, I mean, diamonds do have a lot of blood on them. I know women hate to hear this because women love diamonds.
They have a lot of blood on them because...
Well, they're
beyond the terrorists are used as currency in terrorism, but what else?
Yes, well, they're called conflict diamonds. Diamonds, of course, live in Africa under the ground, and most of the countries that have the diamonds are the ones that are in civil war and chaos, and the rebel armies who take over these lands force the villagers to mine the diamonds, and they maintain order through terror, through raping the women and cutting off the arms of the little children. Yeah. And I tell a story in there about a woman I know who's only the nicest person you've ever met, and I told her this story. It's not a story, it's the truth about what goes on in Africa and how the rebels control the territory and they cut off the arms of the little children, and she said...
Don't tell me this.
Both arms? Which, you know, it's a hard sell, but you know, I gotta keep it real. That's what's going on.
You certainly do. All right, let's take one more of these. This is "Don't waste food while others starve."
Yeah, that's another one that
conservation is good.
Right. Well, there's 3 or 4 posters, excuse me, in here that have to do with the theme of why they hate us. You remember after 9/11, that was the question for about a month. Exactly. That was just everyone, why they, and then of course, like everything else, we lost interest. Well, it's like, why they hate us? Well, guess we didn't find that out. Moving on. Yeah. Who's J-Lo going out with now?
No, is J-Lo getting married now?
Yeah, right. I mean, you know, we got back to important things.
Exactly.
But this is another poster that we have seen in past wars that we wanted people to understand that food is also a weapon of war, and it's also one of the reasons why people hate us, is because we waste food, we play with our food, we let food rot here to keep up prices up while half the world starves. I defend our country many times in this book, especially the last chapter, which is called Not Just Different, as in we are not just different, we are better. We are better, representative democracy, and rule of law, and freedom of speech, and everything else.
Did you feel necessary to do this because...
No, that's from the heart. And what I wrote that, why I wrote that is because I see so much faux patriotism. I see so much sentimentalized patriotism. And the point I'm making in there is that we do not have to trump up patriotism or reasons to think this is the greatest country. There are reasons why this is the greatest country. Just stick to the facts. And I make the case that, you know, the relevant comparison between America and the Islamic world is not between us now and them now. It's between us now, when we are ascendant, and when they were ascendant. Because it's all about what kind of options a country has. You know, like we couldn't just take the oil right now if we wanted to. Of course we could. For a country that has the power, the preeminent power we have now, we treat the world with remarkably mute brutality compared to other nations when they had the power. When the Muslims were ascendant, I don't think they were nearly as gentle as we are around the world.
You say the following: I'm so tired of hearing about the brutality of America's foreign policy. From a culture that conquered the world in a century, from the death of Muhammad in 632 to the Battle of Tours in 732, the army coming out of the Arabian desert converted half the world in only 100 years, and you don't do that by handing out flyers. and singing combined.
Right. You don't convert half the world in a century with just, hey, why don't you join our team? So, for them to like be constantly bleating about American foreign policy, and that's the dog ate my homework.
So how much did it, for the lack of a better word, hurt when you found yourself being criticized by the press spokesman for the president, for what you had said on your show?
Yeah.
In a sense saying, almost, this is un-American, he should bite his tongue.
Well, what he said, I'll tell you exactly what he said. They tried to expunge it from the official transcript, but it was recorded and people now know it. He said Americans need to watch what they say, which is a pretty creepy thing to say, because
the idea of saying what we believe
is why we love it here. I mean, that's why it's cruddy.
That's why they fight these wars.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Iraq stinks and China stinks because they do need to watch what they say. And after that, the press tried to bait me into getting into a big fight with Harry Fleischer, and I wouldn't, because the point I was trying to make about that was he was saying something off the cuff, as I was when I made my remarks. And we were all in a kind of a heady state back then. It was only a few days after the attacks. And it just kind of came out wrong. I don't really think Ari Fleischer is a Stalinist who wants to institute a police state and really thinks Americans need to watch what they say. I think it just came out in a way he might have said it differently if he had more time to think about it.
In the same way,
so give me the same courtesy.
When you talk about the courage of somebody who's willing to kill themselves on behalf of something they believe in, you weren't suggesting there was anything
heroic
noble
about it.
it.
No. Just, strictly speaking, when you stay with the suicide mission, that's not cowardly. So anyway, it was, if I had said it 3 months later, no one would have even noticed.
You think this war would be a big mistake for America?
The Iraq War? Mm-hmm. I do.
Are there others I don't know about?
There probably are, being discussed in an undisclosed location. I do.
In Virginia.
In Virginia.
Yeah. You do? I think it's a big mistake?
Absolutely. First of all, I've never, ever heard about any Iraqi terrorism. I don't think that's the country where terrorism is coming out of. It's funny, when the war first started...
But it also begins to raise the question of what do you consider terrorism? In this...
Well, in this case, I'm talking about the people who are targeting America.
Okay, so you're defining terrorists as people who are targeting America.
Yes, that's...
Okay.
And, the Iraqis lost a lot more soldiers.
That's not Putin's definition of terrorism.
No. I very rarely go by Putin's definition of anything. But, the Iraqis lost a lot more people than many other Arab nations. But, I never heard of anything being fomented over there.
So in other words,
yeah. But
what was it Muhammad Ali said during the time, I ain't got nothing against some Viet Cong?
Yeah.
I mean, is that sort of where you are?
Well,
I ain't got nothing against them Iraqis.
Well, look, Saddam Hussein is a horrible dictator, and I realize he's not just going to ski into a tree.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him taken out. But my problem with that is that I think we might create more problems. We are already
in terms of breeding new Osama bin Laden.
Bin Laden's a politician, just like any other politician. He's already using, if you heard that tape the other day, he's already using the Iraq War to foment more hatred among his brethren, and he's very good at it. It's going to happen. And, after 9/11, we were told, whatever we do, do not lump the terrorists in with the other Muslims. Don't lump Muslims together. Suddenly, it's okay to lump. Suddenly, bin Laden and Hussein, who are absolutely at opposite ends of the spectrum.
One secular, one is religious.
One's a secularist. One cares about Allah. One cares about Viagra. Okay? These guys hate each other.
Which is which?
The idea that Saddam Hussein, a paranoid, megalomaniac dictator like that, would develop a bomb and then just give it to somebody else, especially to bin Laden. Here you go. Take. No, please. I developed the bomb. You have it. No, please. Use it on me, whoever. I mean, it's just preposterous. But they sell that, and people buy it.
So I think someone said yesterday, can you imagine Saddam living in a mountain cave?
Right, exactly.
He lives in a presidential palace.
50 palaces. He's never gone to the bathroom in the same toilet twice.
And this book is called When You Ride Alone, You Ride with Bin Laden, what the government should be telling us to help fight the war on terrorism. Thank you, Bill.
Always a pleasure, Charlie.
Thank you for joining us. See you next time.